Far Cry 3 was one of my favorite games of all time. I can't totally explain why, but it just got its hooks to me so well. I was addicted to it and I played it from top to bottom. And I've kind of been chasing that dream ever since with Far Cry games. None of them really clicked with me as much as Far Cry 3 did. That's why I was really looking forward to Far Cry 5. It was definitely like my most anticipated game of this spring. I'm super hyped for it. And I've been playing it for a while. I got my hands on it a little bit early. And I've been playing it until my eyeballs fall out. And I can say that it's pretty good. Pretty good, yeah. I know that doesn't sound like the greatest thing in the world, but I think the changes it needed to make in terms of structure, it did, and it succeeds. It still feels so much like a Far Cry game. I don't know why I was expecting a Far Cry from a Far Cry game, but it's the same here, basically, except better. And I also definitely think in some places it doesn't really live up to the whole taking place in America and the villains and the cult and the political statement. It falters on all that. But in terms of raw play and raw fun factor, this is still definitely a Far Cry game. And stupid shit happens all the time. Tonally, it's all over the place. And it doesn't matter because it's good. It's solid. The shooting, the stealth, all that stuff still works perfectly here. It's refined, it's fine-tuned, it plays well, it's like a well-oiled machine at this point, but what I really like is just the way they changed the structure of things, the way you open up a map and it's not this wide-open map filled with a bunch of things to do and things to check off. Structurally, the game is still that, but it kind of tricks your brain into doing it in a different way. And this is what I love, because I guess I kind of love the way game design science works. But the way it works here, it's actually structured more like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, where it really focuses on the exploration. First of all, there's no mini-map, which I think is freaking awesome, honestly, because it just frees up the HUD in general, and it gives you more time to see the gorgeous vistas, because that is obviously one of the best parts of this game, is that it looks freaking incredible. The gameplay you're seeing here, I wanted to play it on PC, but I got my hands on the Xbox One X version, and it's great. But like I said, there's no mini-map, and the way it's all structured is around discovery, so you're not climbing up towers and turning on the radio tower again. They got rid of that. They even acknowledge it in like a meta cutesy joke. But it does a good job of just always kind of keeping you occupied. I played this game for tons of hours without doing any story stuff because it strings you along. Oh, you see something, you go walk towards it, you discover a new thing, then you save a civilian, you talk to them, they give you a new thing that pops up on your map, and so on and so forth. It's designed to kind of keep you consistently playing and not just always opening up on your map and going, where should I go next? Sometimes it does slow down at points where you do have to open up the map, but really you can just jump into this game and just keep walking around and finding random instances that pop up. Maybe you'll find a group of cult members trying to kill a civilian. You save that civilian. They'll tell you the location of a new outpost. Then you can go take down that outpost, which every outpost here is actually completely unique and sometimes has some actual story aspect to it. And then once that base is free, there are people populated in that base that will give you side quests, full actual side quests that give you different things to do here that aren't as cookie cutter as usual. And then of course there's the main story stuff. And I think that's what I like the most about Far Cry 5 right now, is the fact that it changes the way you play a Far Cry game. It acknowledges that by the end of Primal, things are starting to get a little dried up in terms of how you do things in these games. And while the actual core fundamental gameplay feels just like a Far Cry game, it didn't change things up that much in that sense. Structurally, it does enough different things. Now, I would say if you are looking for more of a bigger, different Far Cry game, you're not getting it here because the gunplay, everything, all that stuff feels the same. But on the flip side, now you have this setting that is the United States of America. And this is a big deal for me as an American, but because it's just different. It was not what I was expecting. It's shaking up the whole Far Cry thing. It's very much still a game where you're a man out in the wild. And Far Cry games have always made you feel kind of like Rambo in First Blood. This one really does, because you're actually in America and you're fighting off these crazy religious cultists. It all gives the game a different flavor. The fact that there are stop signs and street signs that look like stop signs and street signs that we have out here. The fact that there are gas stations, small towns, regular houses that you can walk inside and they feel like American homes. Yeah, it's not perfect. It's not like the most photorealistic thing, but it still gives you that feel that you haven't really had in a Far Cry game, but where you can go, holy shit, this is America. It also gives you a little bit of that like American badass attitude, I guess, from the perspective of a lot of Canadian people that made this game, with America fuck yeah and cool muscle cars and explosions and big crazy redneck stuff. And honestly, I was surprised how much this game doesn't, all right, let me get into it. This game doesn't make fun of rednecks, really. I mean, it does, but it honestly props them up too. Like rednecks, it shows the cool side of rednecks. It makes you want to wear a cowboy hat and fire a gun. I don't know if that's what people were looking for. I don't know if some people just wanted this to be like a political statement, but it doesn't really do that. It sets up the cult as this occupying domestic terrorist force, and regular everyday Americans with guns have to fight back. So it's kind of more of like a Red Dawn-y feel, and that's fine. I really didn't people were putting their hopes and dreams thinking that this game would make some big political statement, and I didn't expect it from the beginning, because how often do games actually make, deep political statements? But it all feels different enough to warrant you actually trying and jumping into this game, and I like that. I'm a little bummed that hunting is actually de-emphasized here. While you come across hunters out in the wild and fishermen, and you can very much kill animals and hunt or be hunted, it doesn't really work into a crafting system now. Now it just makes you money, and then you take that money and go to shops and buy new weapons. And I will say, in terms of the weapons and the offering of vehicles and stuff, I'm a little disappointed. I really wanted more weapons and stuff. Like, I wanted way more customization options and stuff like that, and maybe just the ability to craft. I didn't get sick of that aspect. I guess they feel like some people really did, but I like the crafting. I play these games a little bit for the crafting. There's some stuff like finding doomsday prepper bunkers underground where people are just hiding stuff waiting for the end of the world. You can stumble upon these places, and it's usually a lot of times like environmental puzzles or little things you have to figure out. You have to platform, or you have to figure out how to turn something on. And those are really satisfying. They almost remind me of in the Ezio Assassin's Creed games, when you go into the certain landmarks and complete like a platforming or time challenge to get a special thing. It's kind of like that here, or it's kind of like some of the puzzle trials in Breath of the Wild out in the open. And it works. It's really good. I'm surprised how much this game does take from Breath of the Wild in terms of exploration. The game's also really, really challenging, which I like, and it works pretty well. It almost feels like Metal Gear Solid 5 when you have your allies with you. Like, you can have Boomer the dog, or you can have the heroes for hire. You can have a soldier. You can have a sniper woman who feels like Quiet, where she'll be able to pick people off and keep you undetected. And that stuff is fun, because it just makes raiding bases fun again. And it just gives you that excitement, crazy, balls out, badass feeling where you can fly up in an airplane now, which the airplanes are completely new and pretty fun. They're a little slow, but the dogfighting works, and raining down hell on people on the ground does work, and it's pretty satisfying. I was kind of worried how it would change up the gameplay, but it's okay. Honestly, now it gives you more opportunities to jump out and skydive and parachute and then land and do more badass shit, and I'm okay with that, especially because the muscle cars and all the different vehicle types here are really emphasized. While I am disappointed at the lack of weapon types, I wanted more weapons and more upgrades to those weapons. The cars are awesome. I wasn't expecting to want to jump into cars that much in this game, but I find myself jumping into a fast car or fast truck anytime I had the opportunity, because tearing ass across a woods and then bursting out into an open crop field and flying across while shooting dudes is so good. And that right there is Far Cry, whether it's in America or in the mountains or on a tropical island. That right there, that crazy over-the-top first-person stuff is Far Cry. And I think with that, they nailed it. I also think they kind of nailed it. They maybe tried a little bit too hard, but with Joseph Seed and his family members that are the leaders of the cult, you see a lot of them, which is good, because that was my biggest complaint with Far Cry 4, is that you didn't get to see a lot of Pagan Min, as cool as he apparently was. I wasn't crazy about him, but you didn't get to see him much. Here, you get to see these guys a lot, because you're basically knocking stuff off the map and doing stuff to fill up a resistance meter, and during certain points in this resistance meter, multiple times, the leader of that section will come out and catch you, and you'll have a whole story segment where you get to know them a little bit more. They're, the stuff they spout is kind of like mumbo jumbo, doesn't really, it's like whatever, but it's still just cool to see these actors doing their thing and really chewing the scenery here and getting right up in your face and just doing that crazy Far Cry villain stuff. Thankfully, there's more of it, and I like it. I think these weird, crazy cult members are terrifying and scary and fucked up. This game is kind of fucked up in the sense, while it's like really wacky and stupid and hilarious, like then there are people hanging from bridges with their guts cut out, or there are people crucified, and that's crazy. The tone is all over the place, like it has been in the previous Far Cry games, but it's still good. I have a lot of hours in the game. I've pretty much seen everything at this point, but I think it is a good time. If you like the previous Far Cry games, I don't think you're going to be disappointed here. It's very much more Far Cry. Are you going to get sick of it? I don't know. For me, I had enough new here to keep me satisfied and to keep me hooked once again. But then again, these games are like my guilty pleasures, where I just get addicted to them and I play them top to bottom. But I do want to hear from you guys what you think about Far Cry 5. If you have been playing it, it just came out. I want to know what you're thinking, if it's fresh in your mind. Let's talk about this. What is your least favorite aspect of it? What is your favorite aspect? Do you think people are being too hard on the story? Because I just go into Far Cry games not caring about the story, and I got what I expected here. But like I always say, thank you so much for coming around and watching and listening to me ramble about stuff. I'm Jake Baldino. You can subscribe because video games.